Welcome to the Chronicle Sports Blogs podcast for Sunday, September 13th. I'm Ben Cohen. I'm with Sabrina Merchant. And more important than either of us is the fact that Duke football is 1-1, responding to their first loss of the season with a 35-19 win at Army in West Point. And, we're not going to bury the lead. It all had to do with a player who didn't play until midway through the third quarter, right, Sabrina?
Yeah, Sean Renfrey was really the difference maker against Army. The minute he came in that third quarter, his first pass of his young college career, a touchdown pass to Brett Huffman, and really Duke never looked back from there.
Yeah, and it was Sean Renfrey replacing the four-year starter Thaddeus Lewis, not because of injury, but really just because Lewis's offense wasn't moving at all. It was completely stagnant, and the team really just needed an injection of some life. David Cutcliffe talked last week about how he tried to get Renfrey in and wanted to, but just never found a spot. I actually thought Renfrey was going to get some time before the third quarter because it was pretty clear that the Duke offense wasn't doing anything, but he comes in, a really perfect chance inside the 30-yard line, having just recovered a fumble. Duke has all the momentum, and they just completely capitalized with, a scoring strike on the second play, Renfrey's second play, and then, his next touchdown pass was just a thing of beauty. He took a hit in the pocket and just threw a gorgeous 30-yard pass to Donovan Varner, just lofted it right into his arms. No one would have done that better. Renfrey looked like a starting quarterback out there, but he will not be the starting quarterback against Kansas next week, David Cutcliffe announced. A little bit of controversy there, right?
Thaddeus Lewis still is the four-year starter for Duke, and you have to go with what you know at this point. And Thad was the starter at the beginning of the season. One bad game against Army really shouldn't be enough to change that.
Yeah,
But you have to think that Cutcliffe's leash will be shorter on Thad this week, especially considering how well Renfrey did.
Right. I think I'm taking a little bit of an extremist point, and I think that I don't think Thad played particularly well against Richmond. I don't think he played well at all against Army. And Cutcliffe said today that Duke is a one-quarterback team. They're not going to be alternating Thad and Renfrey. Renfrey's going to get his snaps, but it's still Thad's team, and it's still his job to lose. I'm not so sure he didn't lose it on Saturday because you have a guy who comes in and just completely changes the way you play. And really, Duke was on the way to a loss until Renfrey came in. And Renfrey comes in, saves the game, maybe saves the season. You're going to hear grumblings if Duke is down 7-0, if Thad doesn't score on his first drive, his second drive, his third drive. When's the time for Renfrey? I'm not so sure. I think Renfrey's going to get a lot of time next week, and I'm very high on Renfrey right now because he just looked like a much better quarterback than Thaddeus Lewis. We're not one to second guess someone who's seen them for a whole spring, a whole summer, and really all of camp. Right, and I'm sure that David Cutcliffe believes that Thaddeus Lewis is still the best quarterback, or else he still wouldn't be playing. Let's go to the other side of the ball because there was another guy who really sort of sealed the game for Duke because I think Renfrey won it. Leon Wright sealed it with just an unbelievable sequence.
2 interception returns for touchdowns within a span of 16 seconds in that fourth quarter. Took the life out of Army. You can't do anything after that.
Consecutive plays from scrimmage. We need to call up the Elias Sports Bureau. When was the last time that this has happened? This is like an unbelievable statistic for Duke football, is it not?
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we had a pick six.
The second one was sort of just a gimme. Wright just sort of stepped in and took it out and took it to the house. But the first interception, unbelievable catch, and then just became a punt return and returned it and brought it to the house. That sealed the game. Renfrey won it. Leon Wright sealed it.
It underscored a pretty solid defensive effort all throughout after that first drive from the Duke defense.
Right, and really just after that first play, Army's first play, I think Vinny Ray, had an unbelievable game on defense as the guy who was reading the triple option the whole time. Army broke out for one play. It was the first play from scrimmage. Mm-hmm. Vinny Ray said they had never seen that play before, and they took it for a really long run. Besides that, they really wrapped up that triple option pretty well, especially considering that Vince Ogabasi was. Ogabasi played well, but an option isn't going to. Ogabasi isn't going to be the one who's filling the seams in that option. It's going to be all Vinny Ray, and
right.
Ray made it look like he looked like Mike Tauialili out there, and that's what he looked like at middle linebacker. He just played unbelievable.
As did Ayanga Akbakaward.
Yeah, and a couple sacks for him too, right? So let's do game balls. Who are you going to give your game ball to?
It's got to go to Sean Renfrey. The minute he came into the game, the momentum completely shifted towards Duke, and really, that's headed towards next week at Kansas.
Renfrey stats, 7 for 8, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns,
the only incompletion, his receiver tripped on the route.
Yeah, and Thaddeus Lewis, 5 for 16 for 60 yards, 1 touchdown. Duke only threw 24 times compared to 55 times last week, but Renfrey, was just great. I would give my ball to Renfrey as well, but just to play contrarian and to sort of spread the love a little bit. I mean, Leon Wright, two pick sixes, you don't see that every day. And I think Vinny Ray, really the unsung hero of this game, really commanding that defense. And looking at next week, Kansas is probably the best offense they're going to play all year. Todd Reesing, David cooked up today, said is maybe the most accurate passer he's ever seen. I mean, this is a guy who has coached Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, and coached against the best quarterbacks in the country in the SEC, and giving a lot of respect to Todd Reesing. So that defense is really going to have to build on that effort because, and the offense is going to have to be really good next week to beat a top 25 Kansas team. The offense is going to have to outgun them. The defense is going to have to make their stops sometimes. But
you have to feel better about Duke, having seen them respond from a deficit on the road, especially after the way the first week went down against Richmond.
Absolutely, and Duke fans, enjoy this week for what it is because after next week we might not be smiling so much. Thanks for joining us today on the Chronicle Sports Blog podcast, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.
Welcome to the Chronicle.